Barbara Featherston is the Director of Water and Sewer for the City of Shreveport. Hey, Miss Barbara, welcome back to KEEL. How you doing?
Doing fine. Good morning, Erin. Good morning, Robert.
Last hour, we spoke with Dr. Martha White, who is the Regional Director for the state, Department of Health.
Yeah, Office of Public Health.
And understand, let me set the table for you here a little bit. Erin's going crazy. Her hair's on fire about this. And Dr. Martha said on the 1 to 10 scale, it's like a 0.5 to worry about this brain-eating amoeba thing. Do you agree? What do you know? What can you tell us? And in what condition is Shreveport water?
Well, I mean, what I can tell you generally about, brain-eating amoeba is it's not something that is very, obviously very common. Back in 2012, 2013, we saw a lot in the news about the amoeba affecting some water systems. The state of Louisiana put out an emergency rule which had all the water systems change kind of how they disinfected their water and the residuals of disinfection out in the system. And, since that time, we've seen the state has done a monitoring of systems that maybe haven't been complying exactly with that disinfection residual. And we just haven't seen quite as many cases of that. In addition, brain-eating amoeba, it's something that is an issue if it gets into, if it's taken up in through your nasal passages. It's not something you drink. It's not something that's going to affect anything you drink or eat, with the water. And so there's less and less likelihood of actual, being affected by the amoeba.
When's the last time the Shreveport water's been tested, and how did it come out?
Well, Shreveport's water was tested back in 2014, and it came out fine. The city's water system, it passed all the scheduled tests for the brain-eating amoeba, and the samples came back negative for the amoeba. The Department of Health is the initiates that testing and performs that testing. We don't do that. We're not set up to do that. None of the municipalities are set to do that.
Pardon me, Miss Barbara. I can see the look on Erin's face. She's going, "Oh my God, 2014. That's like 4 years." But that's basically that's sort of that's the plan, right?
Well, the state is not going out and just testing every system every year or every 6 months. What they're looking for, generally speaking, as I understand, is they're watching. At some point, everybody's gotten tested, and what they're doing is watching to ensure that systems are following the rule that they put in place, which will keep systems from having issues with the brain-eating amoeba, and that's basically keeping our chlorine, residual above a 0.5 milligrams per liter. And we have also a nitrification plan in place. So basically, it keeps the system stable. And when you do that, you don't have issues with the brain-eating amoeba. When all of this came about back in, 2013, 2012, 2013, our system, the Department of Health had kind of a lower level for a disinfection residual of 0.25. And we always maintained, our goal was always to maintain significantly above that. So we had a target of a 0.5. So we never had any issues. So when they changed the rule to a 0.5, we were already complying with that. And then we moved our target up to maintain a residual of chlorine in the system of a 1.0. Oh. And so we, out of an abundance of caution, we upped our game as, even more than what the state is actually requiring.
Barbara, we're talking to Barbara Featherston, Director of Water and Sewer for Shreveport. There's a little concern because Bossier gets their water from the Red River, Shreveport gets our water from Cross Lake, but there is some point when we use the Red River for our water. Can you explain that?
Well, we don't use the Red River for our water. We do occasionally utilize, we have a pump station on 12 Mile Bayou, and we utilize that pump station only when the lake is low. We haven't used that in weeks. We've been getting great rain. And 12 Mile Bayou is basically, it's fed from Caddo Lake. And, the water flows from Caddo Lake down to the Red River, and we're, in between that.
Miss Barbara, as going back to the chlorine thing for a second, I'm intrigued by the mechanics of this. How much chlorine does Shreveport use in, say, a month? How do they bring it in? What are the size of the trucks? How much do we have on hand? How much does it cost? Is it like a liquid, or is it like a huge Alka-Seltzer that you throw into the lake? How does that work?
Well, I can't speak to the actual numbers of how much we purchase and what it actually costs. But what I can tell you is we bring chlorine in. They bring it in 2-ton cylinders. It's like, a gas cylinder, but just kind of on steroids.
I mean, pardon me. My thought would be, my God, we must need a lot of chlorine.
We do. We use gas. It comes in a gas form, and then we inject that into a water stream to create a liquid, and then what we feed is not straight chlorine. We feed chlorine, and then we feed a little bit of ammonia with it to create what's called a chloramine residual. And that's what we use for disinfection out in our system and have for years.
That sounded real smart, by the way.
Barbara, can you describe what Bossier residents should be expecting during this chlorine burn? What happens? What's the water going to smell, look, taste like?
Well, with a chlorine burn, you're going to kind of smell the chlorine. With chloramines, you don't get that bleach kind of smell. And understand that even though they're doing a chlorine burn, they're still staying within the regulated limits of free chlorine out in the system. So it's not like pouring. You're going to smell a little bit of chlorine. You can have, when you're first changing over to free chlorine, there's potentially going to be a little cloudiness in the water. Sometimes if you have certain minerals in the water, chlorine can tend to kind of precipitate those out, like iron, so you can see some little bits of solids sometimes. But it's necessary. Any systems that are found to have, something in an amoeba in the system through testing, they require them to do the chlorine burn.
Barbara, real quick, can you request a test from the state? Say, hey, we've had this issue across the river in Bossier. Could you test our system just to ease the mind of local residents?
Like Erin with her hair on fire.
Yeah.
I mean, I can ask. I'm not sure, if they would oblige us or not. But surely I'm sure that's something that we could ask for if necessary. We feel very, very comfortable with the residuals that we maintain out in the system. When all of this came about, the emergency rule came out in November of 2013, and we had to be in compliance by February of 2014.
Mention that because Erin's got the letter written. All it needs is your signature.
Yeah.
That's basically.
I'll fax it over to you.